In 3, 2, 1. That's a lie. We've already started.
Oh.
Hi, welcome to Vintage Talk, one word. I'm your host, Evan, and this is my co-host, Archer.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about some antiquing stuff once again, and I believe I started last time, so Archer, take it away with that magnificent piece of pottery you got there.
Well, it's funny you said pottery, because it's not.
You know what the frick I mean.
It is metalwork. So this is, in front of me, I have a tea kettle. A very substantial tea kettle.
I love that word choice. It is massive.
And it's very heavy.
Yeah.
So this is picked up from our usual antique mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this has the honor of being the most expensive thing I've bought. The price was, I believe, $98, $99.
Wow. Yeah.
Which, that was a lot of money for me.
That's a lot.
But I've had it for a few years, and I hope to have it for a few decades now.
It'll last a few decades.
Because it already has lasted quite a few. So I did some research after I got this. I already had a hunch about it, but I did some research after buying it, and I believe this is a tea kettle from the Meiji Restoration of Japan. So that was a very particular point in Japanese history where they were opening up trade again with the greater world. For about 200 years, they'd been closed off from the rest of the world. And when they reopened, they were introduced to a flood of new technology. And among those was better ironwork. So now you have these really wonderful Japanese products that have a lot of still the Japanese cultural elements, a lot of the same aesthetics as before, but now applied in new ways, such as an industrial produced tea kettle. And that's why it's so heavy. Yeah. The shape of it is really funky. It's actually octagonal.
Yeah.
And
it's almost too many sides for a kettle to have.
Yeah, hexagonal maybe. Octagonal, it's pushing it. But on each of the sides of the tea kettle, it's very faint now. It's all kind of worn off. But each side has either a pattern on it or some type of illustration on it. It's very hard to pick out what the illustrations are, though. And then below the hexagonal portion, it has a bit of a rounded bottom and a flat top. So in terms of tea kettle shapes, this is among the more unique ones that I've seen.
Okay.
But and then a really flimsy little top for it.
The top is probably the least majestic part about it.
Yeah, but put together it looks all right.
Yeah. Can I just lift it for a second?
Yeah,
I need to test how heavy this is for myself.
Which for a tea
tea kettle, yeah.
So for reference, if you have a tea kettle
like it's
already,
empty right now, and it's already.
So that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you already have a tea kettle, imagine your tea kettle filled with water. That's how that feels without water.
Yeah. I could bludgeon a man to death with this.
I'm sure you could.
That's all I'm coming back to.
But yeah, so in terms of aesthetics, in terms of substance, in terms of history, this is kind of everything that I like in a thing.
Okay.
In general, so even though it costs a little bit more, I'm more than happy to have had it.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
but you didn't know everything about it right away, right? So it was like
there's a bit of a gamble, but when I got it, so I had already seen it at the antique mall a few times.
Okay.
Like I've been looking at it for a couple of months before I bought it.
Okay, so you were like dwelling on the potential purchase here.
So this was very much not an impulse buy.
Yeah.
I sat on it for a while.
Fair enough.
Collected the savings and then got it.
Gotcha.
And it paid off well enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, I also, one of the things I would like to do is actually make a porcelain replica of it. So use this to make molds, and then use those molds to make a ceramic version of this, and then introduce the pottery into it.
Right. Yeah, that'd be cool.
With the current lineup of stuff to do, that may be a ways off, so don't hold your breath.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everyone out there is going to anyway. So my thing, I brought one of them. There's 3 of them in all, and that was part of why I went ahead and bought this. It wasn't necessarily something that I would have immediately jumped on.
If it was just like one,
but it was pretty cheap for a 3-pack.
Okay.
And it was it's all 3 in the collection. Like there's no more than 3 in the collection.
Okay,
so I have the
it's
full
complete
thing.
Yeah.
Right. And what it is it's a TV guide from the week of May 11th through the 17th of I believe 2002, maybe 2001. But the main cover is advertising the release of Episode 2 Attack of the Clones of Star Wars. And it's cool because it's a 3D cover.
Yep.
So depending on where you angle it, you either see Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor as Anakin and Obi-Wan in the prequels, or you see Darth Vader and the Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan. And so, obviously it's a TV guide, so you got the regular TV guide stuff, but there is some exclusive interviews with George Lucas, Hayden Christensen, and Natalie Portman. Probably the one disappointing thing, if there was one, which I probably would have figured this out if I'd thought longer about it, but like, the interviews are the same in each of the 3 books, so I'm not getting like different content aside from the covers are different on each one. But regardless, as a huge Star Wars fan, it was cool to say that I have a collectible thing and like I have the full collection of it.
It's complete.
And it was for probably less than $20 to my memory, maybe 25. And then also, just if you ever want to know what was on TV in 2002.
It's a very nice, like, little period piece.
Right? I mean, we got Lizzie McGuire, we got Magic School Bus, Family Ties. Dude, we got
the classics.
Yeah.
So what are on the other 2 covers?
On the other covers, I know there's one of Anakin and Padme on Naboo.
Are they also 3D?
They are also 3D, yeah. And then the other one is totally slipping my mind, but I feel like it's Anakin with his lightsaber out, and then Darth Vader with his lightsaber out, depending on the angle. I think the one that has Anakin and Padme might be like them apart and then them kissing or something. Because I mean, the whole
are they all about the same movie?
Right, they're all for Attack of the Clones, and the whole thing of the Attack of the Clones advertisement was, it really stressed the forbidden love aspect of Anakin and Padme's relationship. So, like, that part was out there in the open. That wasn't a spoiler at the time. Like, everybody knew where that was going.
So you're flipping through it now, and I very much like seeing some of the advertisements as well.
I know, there's some
just
fun,
like, how very, like, early 2000s.
It has a thing of now showing on video and DVD. You got Ocean's 11 with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. You got... From Hell, starring Johnny Depp, which is not a good movie, but regardless, they got little things about people who were big back then. Cloris Leachman here, who's passed away in the last few years now, but she was a real big character actor. And so they have a little piece on her in here, just all sorts of other little tidbits.
And you said that the other 2, in terms of content,
in terms of content, they are the same. They're not.
It's just the covers that's changed,
right? But again, I like the fact that I have all 3. And for not a lot of money. So yeah, pop culture wise, I'm quite satisfied with this. And the thing is what's remarkable about this for you and me is that it is the one purchase that I've made from not our usual antique mall, but the Bank Antique Mall. That if you go antiquing in downtown McKinney a lot, like Archer and I, you would know, has this thing where it never changes its stock of items ever.
We used to frequent it more often when we had hope that they would change their stock, but they haven't.
But having been antiquing there for years now, we've basically given up hope.
And I think part of it too is because they have the antiquing stuff, but I think primarily they function as more of like a pawn shop.
Yeah,
and they also do a lot of currency exchanging.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Like, that's not something I picked up on in the early years of our trips, but now that I've been in there and gotten a chance to observe that sort of thing, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of that repaired kind of stuff in there. Like, I feel like as much as clocks and old radios and stuff are on display there, it's also about, hey, you can bring this in and get it fixed if you have one of your own.
And then also, like, the collectible currency, they do, I believe you can buy certificates for gold.
Really?
That sort of thing. So I honestly feel like the antique store there is just to fill the space. Which, that means that finding something good like this...
Yeah.
Not bad.
And that was there a couple of times that I went, and I just... it stuck out to me the last time I went there more than it did in the previous times for whatever reason. I was like, you know what? I kind of want this. $20 isn't that much. So
I will say I do enjoy the back advertisement for it. So
I haven't looked closely at it. Let me see.
So the back advertisement, I presume it's outside Buckingham Palace, But you have, I forget what they're called, but it's one of those like classic English guardsmen wearing the red uniform, the fluffy black hat, and they're not allowed to talk to anybody or anything.
Those British gods.
And then it's an M&M ad, so you have the red M&M, and he's just, he's trying to bother the guy who can't speak back.
Yeah.
But I don't know. In terms of
he's doing the little American versus British spelling there.
And I didn't even see that at first. But I don't know, kind of in terms of this again being like an object of its time,
right?
That feels so quintessentially early 2000s.
Absolutely, yeah. Do they even make TV guides anymore? I don't know.
Probably not.
I mean,
I can't imagine the audience for that. Yeah,
you need a Netflix TV guide to come.
I think there's just
house.
like blogs online now.
Yeah. Oh look, and it's called The Dark Slide because it's a slide of I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Originally, it was $2.49 compared to what I paid for it, which was probably like
4 times.
Yeah, 4 times
for each of them. Yeah.
But yeah,
which, not the worst deal.
Not the worst deal. I haven't read the actual interviews in here in
a
while.
Okay.
But I think I only read them once. But as I recall, they're not like the worst interviews ever.
Okay.
Sometimes
Decent
these
substance.
magazine type of interviews aren't usually very satisfactory. But like,
for what it is, enough. This one works out. Right?
Yeah. And it gives you background about like Hayden Christensen being a 21-year-old Canadian actor that just came out of nowhere. And apparently at the time, all of teendom, meaning teenagers, was buzzing about The Chosen One. I don't know if he was a heartthrob back then, but
might have been.
Maybe he was.
I wouldn't know. I was too.
I wouldn't know either. But God, Natalie Portman was for sure. Look at her.
Okay. Anyway,
she still is. Who are we kidding? Shout out to Natalie Portman coming on the podcast.
Evan's talking about girls again. It's time to.
But unfortunately, Natalie, you can't come on this podcast in particular because this episode is
done.
Pretty much done. So goodbye, good luck, and may the force be with you.
Goodbye.